Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, this is Stacy over at the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. Happy to be here. Happy to be back to a Lovers Lake deep dive episode. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute, yeah.
I think between all of the content and then also just putting this off as long as possible because we were like dreading it a little bit, but we are excited to finally talk about the infamous Lost Sister episode. So that's the plan for today, but how's it going, Stacy?
Oh, it's going. Yeah, no, things are going pretty good. Holidays are coming upon us, but luckily we were smart and we were able to get through the Lost Sister episode by doing a drinking game a few weeks ago, and I gotta tell you, it made it more tolerable, and it was zany. We had fun playing it. These were some of the rules of the drinking game. I said, take a drink when every time you hear the word rainbow.
Which was a lot.
Well, that was a lot. I'm telling you, I'm a genius at these things. Every time somebody says the name Jane. Drink every time 11 goes into the void. Drink every time somebody uses their powers, which was quite a lot.
It was a lot, yeah.
Drink every time a 1980s song plays.
There were a couple.
Drink every time somebody says the word sister. Then I did waterfall your drink when 11 moves the train, which, man, we forgot that, like, her with this fucking train, it takes a while for her to actually fully move it.
Yeah, so it's moving like a little bit. So we were starting and then she like stops and then it's like a long sequence.
It was like red light, green light. Like literally like she would start, then she would stop, she would start, she would stop. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So that went on for an eternity. And then take a shot when somebody says the word bitchin', which right away Megan was like, they say it only once. And I'm like, no, they say it a couple of times. No, they only say it once, guys.
Well, yeah. And I rewatched the episode this morning because I did not take notes when we were doing the drinking game. So I was like, I feel like I need some notes to help me with this episode today. So technically we missed it because we were so like, I guess, excited about taking our shot at that point. Kali says it, but then Elle also says it. So really, we should have taken two shots in quick succession there. But that was a missed opportunity.
The fireball was flowing like water that night.
Yeah, it was a good time. It's a good drinking game. Definitely try it if you ever have some free time and want to have some fun one night. But drink responsibly, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, we're just going to go through the episode too, and we'll talk about kind of things that we noticed, but also if anything was funny as we were doing the drinking game too. I did look up because I feel like during the drinking game, we were like, wait, it's over? How long was that? And we didn't look up how long it was. It was 46 minutes.
That's a short episode.
It was a pretty short episode. Yeah. And I think most people's kind of concern about this episode is that it kind of breaks up the flow of season 2 because it's a complete pivot away from Hawkins. And it's not cut with other scenes from Hawkins. It's just Elle, these new characters, and it just like, you know, we leave off on a cliffhanger. Like, the Demodogs are like coming into the lab, right?
It leaves on such a cliffhanger. The Demodogs are coming in to attack everybody in the lab. We're so concerned about everybody. And then boom, we just follow 11.
Yeah. And I forgot that for some reason I thought it started with her like getting to Chicago, but I forgot it started while she was still at Becky and Terry Ives's house. And she has just been in like Mama's dream sequence in the last episode. So she's like coming out of that and like talking to Becky about it and trying to figure out if there was anything important that she was supposed to see in that. And I thought it was funny that you were like, "Oh, that's what I would give a
just
kid, some
bread and
bread
milk." I'd be like, "Here you go. Now go to sleep on the floor." Yeah, like literally. And I remember we asked our friend Chris from Filmstock. We said, "Do you hate this episode as much as everybody else does?" And he's like, "I don't think it was anybody's fault." He goes, "It didn't land the way they wanted it to land." And nothing against the actors or actresses that were in this, but I think they're coming across as this like band of misfits, this band of punks, and they're singing Old MacDonald. They're not very intimidating. Like, I actually forgot that Callie and her crew were murdering these people because they do not come across as killers. And the fact that Callie is the only one with powers, the rest of them are just a bunch of runaways. One guy is old enough to collect Social Security. It didn't really land. There were some real cringe moments. And I feel like if it had just been Callie with 11 tracking down, it might have landed a little bit better. But it just goes to show that we bonded with these main characters from the actual storyline so much that we care about them, that we were pissed that they took us away from that. And we had to deal with this bullshit with her finding her lost sister. So, I mean, I thought I was going to hate it much more than when I originally watched it. It's not terrible.
No, there are definitely things I can appreciate about it. And I have some interesting like thoughts based on like our couple rewatches here.
Yeah.
So based on what you said with like them not being very intimidating, it's like I think some of the choices were a little bit intentional, but then I go back and forth because I feel like it should have been a little bit more tempting for Elle to stay with them. Like, they didn't make it very tempting for her. Like,
wasn't very warm and cozy. They weren't exactly rolling out the welcome wagon. Like, they were making fun of her fucking overalls, which I would have been like, you guys are assholes. I don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah, because I feel like that choice she had to make at the end, it almost seemed too easy. Like, of course she's going to go back to her friends.
Like, gee, like, I'm going to be on the run by the police with you guys in your shitty ass van. You make fun of my overalls, or go back to Hawkins.
Right. Where like Callie is making her like feel like she has this big choice of whether or not she wants to just go back and hide or whether she wants to fight. But we can talk about a little bit more about that later.
Have you ever seen True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis? All right, hilarious movie. Well, there's a scene where they're like, the government like kidnaps her and they're like, well, you have a choice. You either work for us or we kill your entire family and we ruin your life. Make your choice. And she goes, gee, let me think. So it reminds me of that. Like, 11, we kind of knew what you were going to choose. But like you said, she's telling her aunt about what she saw in her mother's dreams. Her aunt did the Stacy special, bread and milk. There you go. Yum. And she goes into her nursery to lay down on the cot, and she does her little like void mind thing.
Yeah, well, first though, this is why we need these notes. They look at the files. So they go through all of the files that Terry had from when she was looking for Elle. And Becky is like, well, when she was looking for you, she kept all of these files of other missing kids that she thought could be related. So that's how they found the photograph of Callie. And it was like
a young girl abducted from England.
Yeah, from young Indian girl abducted from London or something like that. So first Elle looks for her in the living room with the static from the TV, and she says she can't find her. But then, like you said, she's laying down on her cot in her nursery, and she does find her. And you've got that shot of like the fire.
I would not let this go the whole episode when we were playing the drinking game. I went, she's next to one of those cans, like a hobo can, like it's on fire. And she's like, I know exactly where she is. I'm like, how? How, 11? How? But we're not going to question it.
Yeah, I think Elle also just has sort of like it's almost like a honing beacon. Like
Like
she
a
can kind of
GPS.
sense the direction that she needs to go in.
She's like a TomTom. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's funny when you made up the drinking game, because the only rule that I had in my mind that I kind of thought of was like drink every time somebody gets a nosebleed, and you made it use their powers, which is kind of like goes hand in hand.
Tomato, yeah.
She did get a nosebleed here. And it was funny because I couldn't remember when I was watching it. I was like, is she lying to Becky and saying that she couldn't find her in the living room? But then she does try to go out and tell Becky, oh, I found her.
Yeah.
And what was Becky doing?
Becky's on the phone with Flo, and she's trying to get in touch with Hopper and Joyce. And right away, 11's like, oh, fuck no. So she steals money from her purse, and she yeets it out of there.
Yeah, and that's where we get the little Channel 8 on the news, or the news at 8 or something like that, which is funny because, as we know, Kali is number 8. That's the credits. And then we open back up and Ella's on the bus, and you pointed this out. What song is playing?
Bon Jovi's She's a Little Runaway, which I was like, look at that. Look at that coincidence. Just, now Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi, that's her name now.
Yeah. So this is funny because she gets off the bus and she seems like sort of enamored by the city. She's like smiling at all of these people. She's
clearly
just
has never been to the city before.
But I kind of zeroed in because I was looking at filming locations, like when I've planned a couple of my trips to Atlanta, and that Windy City pawn shop that you see her walking across the street from it when she's kind of trying to go find Callie's warehouse or whatever. It's a actual building in Atlanta that you can go find, but the Chicago skyline behind it, I like found a random article where apparently the skyline is like wrong in the whole like show. They showed the Chicago skyline a few times in the show, and I can't remember if it's every time it's wrong or if it's just in that shot behind the pawn shop, but there's something like they did it wrong, or it's like not like it wouldn't have looked like that in that year or something like that. So
the
that
fact
was kind
that
of
people notice that is so interesting. Me, I'd be like, yeah, that's the Windy City. I would have believed.
I mean, I think it's people from Chicago noticing. So it's like people who see their skyline all the time and they are like, oh, this is my city. Let me pause it and look at it. And they're like, wait, that's not right.
Wait a tick. Yep.
Yeah. And it's just funny because it's like, then people read into it and it's like, is that intentional? Is it not? Is this some alternate reality? Because it seems like everything that the Duffer Brothers and the writers and the editors in the show do usually is intentional. So it's funny to notice a discrepancy like that and try to figure out, well, is it just a mistake or did they do it on purpose?
It is, but at the same token, like with the whole Will's birthday being the day they went to Rigorama, they haven't actually addressed that yet. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, they went and fixed it. No, they didn't. Like, it's still March 22nd. So I'm almost like, is there, like, did they really plan that on purpose? Or did somebody just drop the ball? I don't know, guys.
So interesting. But
right, the Duffer Brothers are like, shut up, Stacey.
Basically, she shows up at this homeless camp, like you said.
She sure does. And of course, me, guys, I'm like, drinking my Trulies. I'm like, this was real life, should be murdered. And Megan's like, okay, Stacey, like, stop watching Dateline and relax.
And she gets in and finds this, like you said, band of misfits. And they call her Shirley Temple, and I was like, oh, we should have been drinking Shirley
Temples. I love a Shirley Temple. Do you know the equivalent of a boy Shirley Temple, what it's called? A Roy Rogers. You're welcome.
Oh, I did not know that.
You're welcome. Everyone, you're welcome. But yeah, like right away I was like, as somebody who's done their hair in a mohawk, I know I'm looking too much into this, guys. This is a fucking show about other dimensions and monsters. And I'm going, like, where to get all the hair gel and hairspray to do his fucking mohawk? And I was just like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling this gang of misfits. But they're kind of like mean to her at first. And they pull switchblades. Mm-mm.
They do. And that's kind of how Elle and Kali reveal their powers to each other, because first we see Kali make Axel see the spiders on his hand, which makes him drop the blade. But then when she comes downstairs and then they're kind of facing off, Axel's trying to like grab his knife off the ground, and Elle like uses her powers and pulls it into her hand, very Luke Skywalker style.
Who is the fucking Shirley Temple now, dick?
Yeah, that's not going to be the last Star Wars reference I make in this episode.
She was so proud of that, guys, just now. Like the smile on her face.
But they compare their tattoos.
As one does, yep.
Then they go talk on the roof, and we see the Chicago skyline again.
We see that Chi-Town skyline, and I do like that they use, I think it's called Flat Circles or something. It's the same music that plays when Jonathan puts Nancy, when she's like girl wasted, to bed, and Mike's talking to Will on the Trick or Treat Freak episode. So they're pretty like haunting kind of like song, and they play it, and basically Kali like explains her power is she can make people see stuff that really isn't there, and she like makes a butterfly appear and stuff, and she's basically like, yeah, I can like mess with people's heads and make them believe what they want to see. So pretty cool.
Yeah, the butterfly scene was really cool, and I love when Elle asks Kali, "Are you real?" And then they have that sweet little moment and like laugh at each other.
Yeah, but I feel more complete that you're here. I'm like,
yeah. So then that's what Kali says to Elle as she's kind of like giving her that blanket and putting her to bed, basically. But that was when I first started to notice, like, it is kind of visually appealing, this episode. I kind of remember it as being very dark and like contrasting with like Hawkins in that way, but there are all these like bright colors, neon that like contrast. Like there's that neon sign that says like spiritual advisor with like the palm on it, and the bright orange blanket, and then all of the graffiti is very bright. So there is like that bright contrast like to the darkness of like the episode. But like you said, Kali says that this is your home. Then she goes downstairs, and this is the part where they're all singing Old MacDonald. But you see that Kali realizes that she can use Elle to her advantage. Yeah. And she can take advantage of Elle's powers to find people. So it's like, I don't ever really trust Kali. And I feel like there are people that want her to like come back and help them defeat Vecna in the end. But to me, throughout this whole episode, Kali is not really like a hero character.
No, and she gets mad too when like 11 makes her own choice. She's like, don't you ever make the choice for me. I'm like, calm down, queen. And also, I'm sorry, the names of the ragtag group of, I almost said assholes, but I'm going to be nice, misfits. Dottie.
Yeah, that's the, what did I say she reminded me of that one time?
Oh, you were like Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Which I can see. Mick, who must be the driver, and then Funshine.
Yeah, he's the big bear guy.
Get the hell out of here. Like, just by hearing their names, I'd be annoyed. But yeah, you're totally right. And she basically is like, yeah, you know, I've been able to identify all the people that once worked at Hawkins Lab, and we tracked them down. And I had no idea. Here I was going, oh yeah, she puts a scare into them. No, she murders them, which I was like, what?
Well, we missed one little detail. So Elle, also as she's going to sleep, she hears Hopper's message over the radio, which I forgot about this. And I remember when we were like watching him give that message over the radio, and we were like, oh shit, like Elle's not even going to hear this, she's not even going to be there. But then I didn't realize that she does hear it in the void, which was kind of that reminder. And she heard him apologize, which I think is what she needed him to do, because that was why she was so angry with him. But before she talks about killing the bad men, they do some introductions, and that funshine, cringy old man says that Kali saved them all, and he points to like his head and his heart. So
the look on my face right now, guys, I'm like, shut up. Like, oh.
But it's almost like you said, Elle's like, oh, you kill them? And they kind of give her a hard time. They're like, oh, you can't take it. And she's like,
yeah, it's because you're wearing overalls.
Yeah, she's like, I've killed people, and
which I did like that flashback of showing. Yeah, she actually has killed. Yeah, her body count, not the way you think it means, but her body count is quite high. Like, she killed a lot of those lab people in season 1.
So then we get to the train scene where,
oh god,
is okay. I'm just I'm gonna talk about Star Wars again, but this is very like reminiscent of like Luke pulling his like fighter plane out of the swamp on Dagobah with Yoda. I feel like I've said this before, but I can't get over the fact that like Kali is telling Elle to use her anger. Like, that is the complete opposite of like the Force in Star Wars. Like, that's the dark side. That's the Sith, like using the anger and the negative emotions. So it's like, I just couldn't get that out of my head watching this. I'm like, Kali's like telling Elle to like channel her anger. Like that's the dark side. That's the bad thing. Like, maybe Kali really is like a villain, sort of. I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah, it was almost like an officer and a gentleman. Like, she was kind of like the drill sergeant, screaming at her, like, think of all they took away from you, 11. Like, kind of like, ease the F up. And you and me, we tipped back our cans more than once. But it's a big moment where she moves the train, and, you know, the music swells, and it's a big epic moment. But and if you're Megan, just totally see Luke lifting that fighter jet out of Dagobah, whatever the fuck you call it. And it's a moving moment, but I think they right away was like, oh, she's pretty powerful. We could use somebody like this.
Yeah. So then they decide who they're going to look for next. And this guy's name is Ray.
Ray Carroll.
He was the one who did the shock therapy thing to Mama that basically like fried her brain, because Elle had seen him in like Mama's dream circle. And there's a flash of Kali also talking about how he like electrocuted her. So she remembered him too. And they get ready to go.
Oh my god. I can't. It was giving 8th grade, headed to your first little like Fall Out Boy concert vibes. Like, they give her a bunch of eyeliner to smush around her eyes like a raccoon, and they gel back her hair. Bitchin'. I'm like, bitchin'. So I'm going to teach you a phrase of mine, okay?
Okay.
I call any time in TV or movies when something is so incredibly embarrassing, I call it a Teen Wolf moment. Not to be mistaken with the new TV show, but the Michael J. Fox movie, Teen Wolf. Because there is a scene in the original where he, like, surfs on top of a van. And as a child, I would feel like my anxiety building up knowing that this fucking scene would happen. So I would excuse myself out of the room. And that is how I feel about that scene, that montage of her getting ready. It's pure Teen Wolf. It is pure embarrassment that you don't want to watch. You want to excuse yourself from the room. So just total Teen Wolf vibes that you're like, what the fuck? So what phrase does 11 say after she gets all dolled up?
Not bitchin'?
Bitchin'.
Oh, bitchin'.
Bye.
Yeah.
Wow, we're failing miserably.
I noticed this for the first time. As they're leaving, a police officer kind of notices them, which explains later when the kind of SWAT team breaks in,
That makes
like
sense.
how they were sort of like spotted. Because at the end, it's like, wait, how did they find them? But that was what happened. Like as they're leaving, a police officer notices their van. But there was another song playing, so we had to take a drink because it was an 80s song, and I had to look it up. It was called Dead End Justice by the Runaways. So it was funny that a song called Runaway played, and then a song by the band The Runaways
How
played.
clever. This fucking
And oh
episode.
my gosh, as that's playing, they're messing with the masks in the van, which, remember I said that it looks like the mask from Marmalade?
It does a little bit. Like, they found the most unintimidating masks ever. Like, these are masks you'd find in a Happy Meal. Like, I can't. But they stop at a gas station.
This is another cringy moment because it's like they are able to like shop for their necessities because Kali makes the guy like think that the bathroom is flooded. So gross.
Imagine that's your special power, just shitty water. You can make it appear anytime you want. That's it, though. I was like, oh, okay. But, like, it's so cringy. But I love that Eleven grabs her Eggos and stuff.
Yeah. She picks up an apple and then she's like, oh shit, I don't need this apple. There's Eggos.
Yep. Girl after my own heart.
Then I can't even remember if she's carrying them as she leaves after the big kerfuffle that happens. But does she just eat them frozen? Is that like what happens?
I know. I thought about that. I was like, I'm going to have to sit on them to defrost. I don't know.
They have like a little fight with the guy after he comes out of the bathroom.
Yeah, and 11 uses
But
her power.
I'll save them. Yeah.
Who's Shirley Temple now, bitch?
Exactly. Now, this was funny because they get to the apartment and it's like Kali's being sloppy because they say like we need to case the place, we need to stick to our typical routine, and Kali's like, no, we don't need to do that anymore. Like we've got her, she can look for us. So Elle looks and she sees Ray watching television. She says he's alone, but we find out in a few minutes that was a mistake, and like that was Kali's fault. Like they would have seen the girls if they had cased the place like they said they needed to. So that was another moment of like, Kali, like, I don't really like you very much.
I do love that Punky Brewster was on TV and you were like, what's this? And I'm like, Punky Brewster. And you're like, what the fuck is that? So I had to explain what Punky Brewster was.
I was like, oh, like Annie?
Kind of, yeah. More sassy Annie.
It was interesting because I was listening this time and the episode, like it was the kid, I guess Punky, was saying that they were having a dream. Their dream was about them being at a doctor's office and they were getting a needle and the needle kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
What the fuck?
Like, that was a weird choice of like a scene to use. But
yeah.
Interesting. I did think it was kind of cool when Kali made Ray see them as children.
Yes.
Like, because they were like, do you remember us? And he's like, no. And then she made him see them as like the kids that they had been in the lab.
Do you love when we watched it? I was like, this little girl that's playing the younger 11 looks nothing like Millie Bobby Brown. We were dying laughing. I was like, what the hell? Clearly this person was related to somebody because I don't see it.
Right. Also, it's like they made them like wear those little blue outfits and then it was like, oh, all the kids wore the hospital gowns in the lab.
Yeah.
Like that was like a weird choice.
Make up
like,
your mind, Hawkins Lab.
And remember, and I was like, oh, the Rainbow Room got some renovations.
That really bothered you. You were like, what the F?
That's like one of the things that bothers me about this episode the most, I think. But they weren't planning ahead very well when they
weren't. No.
When they made this. So Ray was kind of saying that he just did what Brenner told him to do. He was kind of begging for mercy. And Kali was not having it. She's like, you chose to follow a man you knew was evil. But then he tries to tell them that he can help them find Brenner. And Elle's like, Papa is dead. And Ray is the one that says, no, he's still alive. I can take you to him.
You sure about that?
Yeah. So, are you ready for another Star Wars reference?
Always.
So, it was very like Darth Vader when she was choking him out. That's all I was going to say.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, yeah, no. Love that scene.
But what does she see that makes her stop?
Well, Mr. Ray, Mr. Carol's two little girls actually are in the next room cowering in fear, and they have dialed 911. What?
Yeah. Smart girls.
Yep.
She also sees them in the photograph. That's what makes 11 stop.
Yeah.
So, like, she kind of like is choking him and he's moving, and suddenly in the frame, you see this framed photograph that has fallen to the ground, and it has him with two daughters, basically.
Yikes.
So Elle sees that, and then we realize that they're actually in the apartment. So she kind of like feels some, I guess, empathy because he's a father, and Elle stops, and Kali's kind of encouraging her to kill him still, and then Kali breaks out a gun and is about to shoot him, and Elle kind of knocks it out of her hands. So they're running from the apartment, the police are coming, and like you said before, Kali is angry. She's like, if you want to show mercy, fine, but don't take away my choice.
Yeah, I was like, calm down, queen. Like, damn.
Yeah. So what happens when they get back to the apartment? Or not the apartment, like the warehouse thing.
The warehouse. They get back, and Kali, like, starts messing with her head a little bit. And she makes, and I still think this is probably one of the best cameos, because Matthew Modine does not appear in this season besides in flashbacks, but he appears before her. And right away, she's like, you're not real. You're not real. And he does this, like, it's probably my favorite monologue throughout this entire season. But it's him saying, 11, you have a wound, a terrible, terrible wound. It's festering and it's spreading. And one day it will kill you, which I think could be like some weird, horrible prediction for her arc. But she screams and she's going, get out of my head, get out of my head. But I'm like, Kali, you're using Papa, like the ultimate abuser, to mess with her head, And like, you kind of see her side of things being like, look what this man did to you. But also, like, that's the big baddie with 11. And I think that kind of also made her go like, you're not exactly my sister. You're not family, because family wouldn't do that,
No. And like, it's basically Kali asking 11 why she hasn't looked for Brenner, because that's what Brenner says. Like, he's like, you've thought I was dead all this time, but you haven't actually looked for me to confirm that. And like, if Elle had looked for him, she probably would have known that he wasn't dead. So like you said, Kali is definitely messing with her mind and just being very manipulative. And like you said, using this abuser to sort of intimidate her. And that was another kind of like, if we had one of those boards that Robin made, like, you suck. Like, you suck, Kali. Like, I mean, I can appreciate the actress's performance, and I don't want to hate on her, but like, this character, she's not good.
It's almost like she, has gone through the same stuff 11 has gone through, but she's using hers to like, using her powers and her freedom to do bad, like to murder, to continue the cycle of pain and death, while 11 is totally against that. So, meh.
Yeah. So it really serves, I guess, to show like that dichotomy, like what Elle could be if she let herself be that monster that sometimes she worries that she is. Kali leaves. The others are like playing poker, and we see that the police are coming. But Elle is sort of holding on to that flannel shirt that she brought with her, and she has some sweet memories. I love that she thinks of Mike, but then we also notice that she thought of Dustin and the whole she's our friend and she's crazy.
Yeah.
And she has memories of Hopper. So you can see that she's starting to like need to, is feeling that draw to sort of get back to them, and that this really isn't what she hoped it would be.
Yeah.
And she actually, again, and I forgot about this, she's in the void again, and she sees Hopper and she sees Mike, and she sees things that happened in that last episode where Hopper is like looking at the radar and saying that they're in the graveyard, and Mike is saying it's a trap, which Star Wars.
Hello.
But yeah, then we hear the banging of the police kind of breaking into the place. This part was pretty cool because how does Kali kind of like keep the police from seeing them?
So she basically pulls a Professor X and like makes it like everyone's invisible as long as they stay still. So like SWAT comes in and they don't see anybody. And it just reminds me of X-Men First Class when the guards check the truck and you see like Professor X with his, fingers near his temple, and he's making everybody invisible in the truck. So that was kind of cool. I will admit that. I'll throw her a bone and be like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Like I said, there are some things about the episode that I definitely appreciated. And then the next thing that she does with her powers is something I remember telling you while we were watching it together, because they're having like the shootout, but then Kali basically makes the policemen think that there's this giant wall that has like grown in between them, like almost like
cool.
Game of Thrones type wall.
Like, I know, like, damn.
I needed like Jon Snow at the top of it, but they all get in the van and they're encouraging Elle to get in with them. And I thought this was like a really powerful line because Kali says to Elle, they can't save you. And Elle says, no, but I can save them.
And just the slow motion of her running down the alley, there's bullets flying and Kali screaming and stuff. And she's so upset that she kind of like, her concentration wanes a little bit. So it shows the police can see through the wall. They realize it's like an illusion. So they start shooting and they're like, we gotta go. So they speed away and Kali realizes that 11 made her choice. Later days.
Yeah. And this was a kind of a cool scene because you see like Kali looking out the van window and it kind of zooms in on her reflection. And then it kind of transitions into Elle's reflection in the bus window. And then we see Elle back on the bus and this creepy old lady like
right away, like, you don't talk much. I'm going to sit right next to you and start talking. And we're like, ma'am, she's a child. Like, that is somebody who doesn't like to talk. You're like, leave me alone. And she sits her ass right down and she's like, where are you headed? I don't know the name of the song, but it's like, I
looked it up. Hold on.
Plays at the edge of Scream, but this is the actual real version of it.
Whisper to a Scream, in parentheses, Birds Fly by the Icicle Works.
Pretty good song. I mean, I remember there's a cover to it at the end of Scream. That's how I knew it. But I was like, okay, that makes sense. A good song. Good ending note.
Yeah. I think overall, the episode does what it's supposed to. It's just, like you said, there were some, like the characters were not endearing at all.
No.
And maybe that was intentional. Maybe we're not supposed to like them. I really am going back and forth about whether or not we're supposed to like Kali. Like, I almost feel like she is sort of evil. So, not evil, but it's just, I don't know. I have such a hard time.
She's not using her powers for good. That's the best way to put it.
Exactly. She's not using... Elle has killed people to save herself and to save her friends. She hasn't killed people just to kill people.
Yeah, she isn't like bloodthirsty
in revenge.
For revenge.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
So, very dark side, very Sith, very...
Lots of Star Wars references. Lots.
So it was overall a good time. I enjoyed playing the drinking game. If you didn't watch them, we have like 2 lives on our Instagram of right before we played the game and then right after we played the game, and they're kind of embarrassing, but they're there in case you're interested in watching us have our Teen Wolf moment.
So many Teen Wolf moments. See, I'm going to get you to start saying it all the time now. I love it.
So
good times.
Yeah, that was fun. And we're not going to finish season 2 before the end of the year, unfortunately, but we'll wrap this up eventually. And overall, I feel like watching season 2 has been a blast, and I can't wait to watch season 3, but we'll get there.
Can't wait.
Let's talk filming updates just briefly, because basically there have not been any official
ones
filming updates, but filming is still happening. We can say that.
Yeah.
They have been filming in Jackson, Georgia.
Yeah.
We can say that, I think, because that's sort of like public knowledge. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of people filming and taking photos at filming and kind of leaking some things that are sort of spoilery. Like,
we won't ever discuss it. I know Filmstock feels the same way, and I get it. It's fair game if you're outside and it's out in the public and stuff, but I've had to unfollow so many accounts, and it's not just Stranger Things accounts, it's actually tabloid accounts that are showing certain characters and costumes out and about. They revealed the fate of somebody that I was like, are you kidding me? And it's just like, you would have to be a complete idiot not to put the puzzle pieces together. Megan, I know you're really avoiding it, but like, stuff got spoiled for me. And like, my year isn't ruined because of it, but I would have liked to go into it more blind, like how I went into season 4. So I know on Twitter you can mute words such as Stranger Things, production, filming. With Instagram, not so much. Same with TikTok. So it's almost like, be careful out there, because people are using like special military camera lenses. They're zooming in on things. And I'm just like, why do we feel the need to spoil this? We're so close to the end. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little bummed out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I've seen some things, but like, just kind of tried to scroll past as quickly as I could and not let my brain sort of put the puzzle pieces together. So kind of blocking it out as best as I can, but it has been really annoying. The only other thing I can say is that a lot of people are hoping that we might get some sort of teaser or trailer soon. I know we've been hoping that since Stranger Things Day. So we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise us with that. And then I'm also still really hoping that they're filming some sort of documentary about the filming of the last season. And I'm wondering if we'll get anything like that before the season comes out, or I'm assuming it would probably be after the season comes out. So I don't know. They could give us some more behind the scenes footage, kind of like they did on Stranger Things Day, but we'll see. I kind of just would rather get like an actual official trailer at this point.
Me too.
And then, get the season whenever we get it. Like, it's funny because the cast will have to do press around the time that they actually release it, right? And a lot of the cast members have stuff planned for the spring. Like, Joe Keery has been announcing performances at a bunch of festivals. Sadie Sink is doing a play on Broadway, which we're super excited because we just got tickets for it. Same weekend that will be in New York City for the first Shadow. We were like, might as well go see Sadie's play. So we're excited about that. But it's funny. I am so curious, and I don't want to put this out in the universe for everybody, but it's interesting to me that Joe Keery is choosing to do festivals first before actually like planning a full out tour. And I feel like it's probably a smart choice because he can sort of get some experience with like play in live shows again because he hasn't done
Yeah.
it in so long. Plus, if you cancel one festival performance, it's not as big of a deal as if you like cancel a tour date that's like your
Exactly.
actual tour. So
Yeah.
not that I think that that's going to happen. I just think that as a really busy guy who doesn't necessarily know what things are going to come up, that seems like an easier way, which is why I feel like I'm glad I didn't try to go to Coachella or something like that,
Oh my
because
God.
unfortunately I could see some of those dates being canceled.
Yeah.
And I am super curious about what Maya has going on in the spring too, because she was
I
supposed
know.
to tour and had to cancel that tour because of something that happened. And it was really sweet because if you had bought tickets, which I had, she wrote this really sweet like personal email to like thank everyone who had bought tickets for the tour already, apologize. Yeah. And she was talking about, it was right after we had seen her in Atlanta, and she was talking about how this is such a like interesting point in her life with this transition of like coming off of this project Stranger Things that has taken up her life so much, and she's excited for like this next chapter in her life. It was a really sweet message that I thought that she sent out when she canceled this tour, and she's still doing the European dates, but she had to cancel the North American dates.
She said she's doing some project she's very excited for.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm pumped for that, and I don't know. So I finally started using Spotify this year. I'm always like 5 years behind on every trend. And Joe, he was one of my top people that I listened to. So if he was in your top 10, you got a cute little video of him thanking you and awkwardly clapping for like 10 minutes. It was adorable.
Yeah, it was perfect. And he was mentioning in that video that he has new music coming out. So he keeps saying that, but he said soon and then clapped for 10 minutes, like you said. So we'll see.
We'll see.
It's like total golden retriever energy in that video. Like the definition of golden retriever. Like
sensational. Love him.
I had a golden retriever. His name was Luke. You know, like Luke Skywalker.
Luke. I'm like, mine was named Muffin because we liked muffins. Yep. Star Wars nerd.
What about merch?
So with merch, there's been a lot going on. We have basically, they released all the Stranger Things Squishmallows. They've officially been all released. Which, why don't you tell us a little bit about our giveaway that we're doing?
Oh yeah, so we did mention it last week in our episode 2. But we have all 10 full-size Squishmallows, including the box with Eddie and Dustin. So we're giving those away to one of our Patreon members. So make sure that you join us on Patreon if you have not already, especially if you want to be entered into that really awesome giveaway, because I feel like I own all of the Squishmallows now for myself too, and some of them are still in the package, but that's how I roll. But they're so cute. Like and some of the ones that they put out that I didn't even realize they were putting out, like we got pineapple Argyle, but then we also got like the piece of pineapple pizza. Like that's adorable.
Yes, that's so cute.
And obviously the Scoops Ahoy ones are adorable. And I really like Max.
Yep.
She's really
headphones.
Cute. Yeah. So really, really fun. The Squishmallows are really fun. I needed to like have all of them. Yeah. So that's fun. And we're giving that away. And we also have given away 2 1-month memberships to our Patreon, which means that those people are entered into the giveaway now. So that's all over on Instagram too. So make sure you join us there. And also, it's really cool that you're able to gift memberships now. So we'll have to maybe keep doing that throughout the year next year. But if you are looking for something to tell someone to buy you for Christmas, you can actually ask people to gift you a membership. So I
love that.
Yeah. So we have a gift page, and you can send that link to someone and they can gift you a membership. So if you are looking for that, that's an option as well. The other cool merch thing that came out that I was super excited about were the Funko sodas.
Those, first of all, the level of detail that they put into those like lunch boxes, how it looks
the
like
little
an actual
cooler.
soda tab, and they're a real cooler. They work. But I opened up mine. We did a live with Megan. She opened up hers. And yep, you ended up getting the Chase Steve Harrington. I got the Chase Eddie Munson. And it's just so cool to see people collect them because, like, the soda cans look retro and they're really cool looking. And the only other ones we had owned before this was the Steve Harrington with the bat. So I have Eddie, Robin, and Steve on my work desk. I just think they're adorable, and I know a lot of people are buying them. Very cool gift idea for around the holidays, as well as the mini Funko Advent calendar. Megan ordered hers. She'll get hers in like 2 years. But
yeah, save it for next year, I guess.
Yeah,
at this
the only
point.
thing with me was like everybody, like Funko did the same exact thing. None of them were mixed up. So everybody and their brother was posting about what they were opening. And I was like, I kind of want to be surprised. So our friend Jane, J-Pop Funko, she basically was like, just open them because they're already in red little bags and mix them up. And that's what I did. So it's more of a surprise for me because I am a child. But no, that's really cool. We've seen a lot of cool ornaments for the holidays. Brandy gifted me this really cute Surfer Boy pizza van. There's a bunch of Eddie ornaments that are coming out just in time for the holidays to decorate your trees. I did use the mini bag clips for ornaments and stuff. That's a great idea for my Stranger Things tree. And I received a few really cool mugs from my friend Mark up in Canada. Love the hot cup of Joe's. Love that. But also they did at Five Below the mini Funkos, which, you know, they have the upside down versions of them. There's Robin, Nancy, Steve, Eddie, Dustin. So those are floating around as well. So a lot of merch in time for the holidays.
Yeah, it's been super fun and just seeing all of this new stuff. And along with my Funko Advent calendar, I did order a few pops because they were on sale for like Black Friday.
What'd you order?
Well, I don't remember. So I guess I'll tell you once they get here.
I know I ordered the Family Video Robin because I realized I didn't have her. I only had her in the dark light version. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll get her. But definitely there was a lot of really great Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales going on that I took advantage of. And I know, Megan, you posted it on our stories, but I got Joe Keery from Marmalade tattooed on my hand. Team fuck it, everyone.
Yeah.
And
I meant to ask you about your tattoo at the beginning. So that's super cool. I love it. It looks amazing.
It hurt only a little bit. I said it was like 2.5 Demogorgons. Definitely been wanting this for a while. That movie meant a lot to me, and I love that movie. And if I ever get to meet Joe Keery again, he can do duck lips when he sees it, and you and I can swoon.
Maybe he'll kiss your hand.
Don't even. Get out of here with that.
Put it out there, you know.
Yeah, manifest. Woo!
So yeah, that was super fun, and we'll be back next week with our fun little holiday episode. So stay tuned for that. And until then, that's it.
Over and out.
Over and out.
Eddie, I'm not sure I love the idea of you driving.
Oh, I'm starting to suck her. Harrington's got her. Don't you, big boy?
And we're back. I'm so excited to be back for our Secret Study segment because
it's been a while.
It's been a little while and I miss it. So let's talk about what we've been reading. Again, we like to sort of remind everyone that this is a segment where we talk about fan fiction, typically Steve Harrington and Eddie Munson, aka Steady, who we just love with our entire hearts and souls. So we know that that's not necessarily for everyone, and that's fine. And you can turn this podcast off. No one is forcing you to continue listening to our beautiful voices.
It's true. Yep.
But, you know, if you want to hear about what we've been reading, keep listening. That's it. So, what have you been reading, Stacey?
So I need to finish up this story that I'm just obsessed with. It's called Whole.
Oh my God.
Yep. And it's from Faye. And it is fucking fantastic. I think it's only 5 chapters. They just updated, I think, yesterday or today. So I'm going to save until tomorrow to read it. But it's basically about how Steve Harrington, you know, that his bisexual awakening happens very early on. And he starts like going like, I like the feeling of being full. And he likes sticking things up there. And he can't find lube, so he uses vegetable oil. And that really disturbed me. I was like, come on, kid, you can find something better. So he ends up using an ice cream scooper with a rubber handle. And then he meets Eddie Munson. He just becomes infatuated with him. And he finds out that Eddie's a virgin because his dick is so big, nobody dares, male or female, to have sex with him. And he's like, I think I could take it. And I must say, Whole is just, it's one for the masses. It is just a feel-good story. It feels like a film, feels like you're watching a movie. And it's just so spicy and so well written. And just Whole, 5 stars, 5 out of 5 would recommend.
Oh my gosh.
Whole.
Is it finished now? Or
It's finished.
okay.
Now.
So this last update was the final update. I'm sorry for your loss.
But it's called Whole. Hole. In case you guys didn't get that. Whole.
Every time you would say it, I just kept thinking about like the movie Holes. I was like,
goodbye. Holes, plural. Dear God.
All right. I should have like put a warning at the beginning that like if nobody has listened to this segment before, this is like one of the main reasons our podcast is rated explicit. So there you go.
There you go, everyone. Buckle up.
Not for children.
Nope.
Anything else you want to shout out?
Some things that I wasn't allowed to mention, but just reading my regular spicy, shit and living my best life, guys. What about you?
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I censor Stacey.
Yeah,
apparently
like, you cannot.
I had to let her talk about that one though. She loves
it. You forgot about Whole. Hole. Whole.
I forgot to tell you weren't allowed to mention that one.
Yeah. Whoops.
Okay, so I have a couple things that I want to talk about. For one, shout out to Azrael's Patreon. Azrael is Onion Chiver on AO3, so you've probably read there or know of You're Divine, We Should Just Kiss Like Real People Do. The other big one is Blackout Days, Fairground Nights. Those are like the big 3. They also co-wrote Prism, which we are obsessed with, and I do think that is going to be coming back soon because it's not finished. It's been on hiatus, so fingers crossed. But they have a Patreon exclusive story called Scorpio Skies that I've been following along with, and I love it. It's so good. And I'm pretty sure that you can read the first chapter for free on their Patreon right now. So if you want to kind of get a taste for it, check it out. Highly recommend. Definitely one of those stories that's not for everyone. So check in with the content warnings, but it's so good. The other story that I started, and I actually took a break from it to read a little holiday story that I'm going to talk about too, but I finally started Is Your Light On, which is written by Adore, they are one of my all-time favorite writers, right there up there with Onion Chiver for me, and I've read pretty much everything that they've written except for this story because it's very long. It's technically not finished, so I was sort of holding off on starting it, but they updated it recently and I decided to download it and start it. Definitely love it. Love their writing style as always. It's very angsty, and kind of like the boys are both sort of like going through a lot. It's like post canon, so Eddie survived obviously, but he's kind of different. Like it's kind of like the whole experience has changed him a little bit, and it's him and Steve sort of starting to get close because Dustin asks Steve to kind of like talk to Eddie because he feels like Eddie needs someone to talk to. So that's kind of like how it starts. And like I said, I took a break from it. I don't know if I even finished the first chapter because the chapters are really long. Let me check. Oh, I'm in like chapter 3, but the chapters are pretty long, not super long. It's really good, and I'm glad I started it, and I'm definitely going to go back to it. But I decided to read, let me tell you the title, If You Were a Melody, in parentheses, I used only the good notes, by Kat Dearly. And that is a kind of inspired by The Holiday, the Christmas movie where they house swap, which I've known about this one for a while because I looked up like steady the holiday inspired fics, and there's a couple of them, and I read a different one last year that I really liked, and maybe I'll have to mention it next week on our holiday episode.
Yeah.
This one is so cute, and I'm really into it right now. Steve has come to Vermont to stay in Robin's cabin, and of course meets Eddie on his first night there when he's really drunk, which if you've seen The Holiday, that tracks. Like Eddie is basically like the Jude Law character. Yeah, so it's a really fun story. Definitely spicy, which sometimes little holiday fics aren't spicy, and that's okay too, but this one is, which has been fun, and yeah, highly recommend. So that's my current read, and
definitely got to check that one out.
Getting me in the Christmas spirit, so that's been fun. Yeah.
So for next week, when we do our holiday episode, we said we're going to try to track down some of our favorite steady holiday fics, so that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too. I already have a few that I definitely want to talk about. So, but I wanted to mention that one today since that's actually what I'm currently reading.
Love that. Love that.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today, but it was a blast talking to everyone, and we can't wait to talk to you again next week. So over and out.
Over and out, guys.